lot of viewers write in saying that they believe that Nylonase was an increase in information in the genome in a bacteria. Well, first of all, let's explain what Nylonase is. So there's this bacteria, see? And it lives in the wastewater of this factory, see? And there's a whole pile of nylon in the wastewater from this factory. Now, after a while, this bacteria undergoes a genetic change that allows it to digest nylon. This change is referred to as Nylonase. Now, it's fascinating to be sure, but is it evolution in action? In short, no. Now, I've been referring to mistakes in the DNA as mutations. Now, unfortunately, the word mutation has actually meant just a change in the DNA, whether it's engineered by the organism or not. So, in the case of this rant, and in all my other rants, I will be referring to accidental changes as mutations, and deliberate changes, i.e. the bacteria re-engineers its DNA, as a change, not a mutation. We also got to clarify, because you see there's a huge difference between new information and borrowed information. Now, if you watched rant number 35, you know that I got 2 copies of my phone book, so I can provide this demonstration. Kids, don't try this at home, it really ticks off your parents. Now, I'm good friends with Xena, the warrior princess. I call her a lot on the telephone. Xena, baby, what you doing tonight?
Well, Gabrielle and I are here with the centaurs, and Dave now got a hold of the Axion stone. He boiled it and drank it and turned into this demigod centaur, and now he's out to kill us all, so we have to go slay him and his cronies with a great slaughter. I'm not sure I'll survive.
So, I guess you won't have time to catch a movie then. I also call my good friend Captain Antagonator on the telephone a lot. Now, Xena is listed in the X section of the phone book, while Captain Antagonator is listed on the A section. So for convenience, because I call them both a lot, I rip out page X and place it up with page A. This is convenient for me most of the time because now I can look up A and X at the same time. However, it is a detrimental change to the telephone book because the alphabetical sequence is no longer there. It is also an example of borrowed information, not new information. Even if I rip out a page from another phone book and place it in this phone book, it is still an example of borrowed information, not new information. And so it is with the Nylonase bacteria. It didn't actually produce any new parts, it used pre-existing parts and it modified them. It did this as a trade-off, as an expense to other systems in the bacteria. It took from those systems in order to modify the present pre-existing systems, in order to modify them to give them the ability to digest nylon. This was not new information. And if you put these bacteria back into a normal environment, they go back to the way they were, unable to digest nylon. That's because they borrowed information from other systems within the bacteria. It also appears that these bacteria did this deliberately. See, bacteria can swap DNA just by merely touching each other. Love you, man, but don't touch me. The bacteria can also apparently re-engineer their own DNA. In other words, bacteria were designed to re-engineer their own DNA. Programmers do this regularly. They design their programs with the ability to reprogram itself. They call this metaprogramming. It takes incredible intelligence and incredible design. So now, why would bacteria be designed with the ability to re-engineer their own DNA? Well, the answer is simple, really. You see, us humans, if we don't have food where we are, we can go elsewhere and forage for food.
Morning, fritter, please.
Good morning. Can I get a blueberry fritter donut? A large coffee with 4 sugar, 2 cream. Bacteria, on the other hand, are microscopic and pretty much stuck wherever they are. So if they don't have their normal food, they now have the ability to re-engineer their DNA to give themselves the ability to digest whatever is at hand. Now, this comes at a cost. They must do this at the expense of other systems within the bacteria. Furthermore, this has nothing to do with evolution. These are single-celled organisms. They can re-engineer their own DNA and swap DNA just by touching each other. Love you, man, but don't touch me. Multicellular organisms like plants, animals, fish, humans, we can't do this because our cells need to grow in unison. These bacteria, which have the supposed beneficial mutation, will allow it to be more successful than the less fit, unmutated bacteria. As a result, it will outgrow and outpopulate the less fit bacteria in a real big hurry. If you get a beneficial mutation like this in a multicellular organism, then the mutated cells will rapidly outpopulate and outgrow the other cells. Now, the medical community has a very long technical word for this. They call it a tumor. Tell me, is a tumor an increase in information in the genome? Do you think a tumor is a beneficial mutation? Is a tumor evolution in action? Is a tumor going to grant a person favor with natural selection? Nylonase isn't an example of evolution, nor is it an example of an increase in information. See rant number 41 for my definition of evolution. And if you want to read until your brain explodes, here's a really good paper on the supposed beneficial mutations. Join me next time to hear Captain Integonator say... I believe my work here is complete.